Hey, where's Saints? Father Chris, Deacon Greg here with you at our Crucifixion live stream. Glad to have you beautiful people with us. Welcome this week. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
I'm glad. That makes me happy.
How are you doing?
I am equally as fantastic.
Yay.
So I watched Hoosiers. You ever seen Hoosiers?
I've never seen Hoosiers.
You know, I had never seen it either. It's interesting how in the last, that's probably like 40 years old. I don't know. Hoosiers was like 1980, I think, somewhere around there, 77, 89, 81, 2, whatever, a while ago. But it was interesting to me that the movies were, the action is clearly very different than today in the Marvel type of movies, you know, with the Avengers and all the explosions and fast pace and so on. But it was a great movie, and it's really just, it's one of those, I'm sure our audience has seen it, you know, triumph, you know, of, self-will against, impossible odds and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, short story long, it's Indiana basketball. Gene Hackman is the coach who, transforms the team and with discipline and love and all that kind of stuff. What was fascinating to me was it was about getting to the state championship in Indiana. And this improbable team of, players who were good but not great. They had one really good guy, couldn't get him on the team. Eventually he turns and gets on the team, and they just overcome the odds, and they end up winning the state championship, and they are awarded the trophy, right? And you could see the actors did a great job in, probably very easy for them, but in presenting, oh my gosh, we're so stoked and excited, and, they feel so good about themselves because they had the trophy, they won the game, the state championship, and it was improbable, the small school, but they had like 6 guys on the team, whatever. They felt great and felt such self-esteem because of all the hard work and struggle they went into and overcoming, impossible odds to beat the heavily favored, reigning state champion team and so on. I just thought it was interesting. Made me think a lot about, the esteem and the happiness, the joy that they must have felt. That being said, I thought, why don't we talk today about self-esteem and how do we get it? Should we get it? Why do we get it? Do we need to get it? All that good stuff. Where did it come from? Or at least maybe we'll start with the self-esteem movement. I know you've done a lot of research and teaching on this idea. And I think, forgive, I'm not insulting, but you are a part of, a product of the self-esteem movement from the 80s, right?
Oh, yeah. We had participation trophies, honorable mention. I was really good at getting honorable mention. And, it is what it is. When I talk about this stuff, I quote a 1985 LA Times article, and I even have a little picture of the Project Self-Esteem book right there. You can see it. It used to be on our shelf in the Abdella household when I was a kid. And it said that the goal was instilling a sense that each person is special or unique to enhance the individual child's self-esteem, and in so doing, awaken the full scope of that child's learning potential. So it was there. It was designed to be something that was for improving learning abilities and helping people really get to know get to the heart of things and enhance and unlock some of their potential as far as specifically educational endeavors. But the result of it is, as we've seen, and the article goes on to say, the program addresses such topics as feelings, goal setting, communication, skills, friendship, peers, and conformity, and the difference between tattling and cheating. So if the goal was to get people to their full learning potential, but then you throw in all these other things like conformity, let's get rid of tattling, let's get rid of cheating and all of that, like those two things aren't in the same scope. And the result of it is all the participation trophies that we see, or all these different things that went on all over the place for years. I mean, they still, I think, go on in some places today. I don't really know. The result of it has been nutty because we don't know, in my opinion, we don't really understand the value of hard work. And you see it play out. Like that was from 1985. And when do millennials, you get picked on. When do the generation for millennials start? You see it anywhere in range from 1980 to 1985 as being the birth year of when, of what we now call millennials. I personally consider myself Gen X, just as a heads up.
But So that group of millennials in the 80 to 82 range, starting whenever, they are children of parents who were part of, the birth of that self-esteem movement, right? Like, I mean, self-esteem movement started in the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
So they're heirs of that. Heirs, H-E-I-R.
Yeah, their parents were the ones peddling it, pushing it,
Right.
teaching it,
Yeah.
and they themselves are the products of that movement in the sense that they are the ones who it really got placed on them and infused everything that they did.
So I remember too, growing up, I'm a California native. I was raised in Los Angeles, and I don't remember all of the details about it, but in doing research and prep work for this a little bit, there was a governor of California, George Duke Majan, and he was, under his term, and our audience can Google for better information than what I'm able to remember, but he started this whole thing, this whole, idea of, he put together, I don't know if he started the idea. He put together a commission, a program in California to explore and study self-esteem and get it out there and so on. And I remember that there was a group of people on this study in this program who they wrote their report, but it's so funny. I mean, this is another whole topic. I don't want to get us off topic, but they, they pulled one nugget out of the report and, put it out there that the self-esteem movement was good and it, offered benefits. Well, that statement ended up it said something to the effect, I'm going to paraphrase it poorly, but that the self-esteem idea and movement will lead to the cure of society. Like it's going to help heal society and all this kind of stuff. That quote ended up exploding them onto the scene. That group ended up on Oprah, which is a big deal. I mean, to end up on Oprah as a guest means you did something good and made some statements. She's obviously a pretty, well-known, the Oprah show, obviously. And I wish I could quote it. I should find it. Forgive me for it, but it just popped in my head, unfortunately. The quote was totally ripped out of context, right? In the sense that it said, but the immediately following paragraph, but it doesn't, this doesn't work in all, areas of life and so on. It may have worked in that one specific context, but it didn't work. And the ultimate conclusion of the study was that the self-esteem movement was not tenable. Right. And yet we pushed it and peddled it and so on in California and, throughout the world, really, like even to, I know you said you were dealing with it in New Kensington, Pennsylvania. So, anyways, all of that to say, I was thinking about it. Maybe we go down this road. This is not to pick on that task force or committee or anyone else or millennials or Gen Xers or whoever. It's just simply for me to explore the idea of self-esteem. And I think the flaw of that idea, of that movement, is that self-esteem became something that everyone deserved. They were to be told they were special and have that self-esteem. The idea being, for those who have strong self-esteem, they're able to, like you said, deal with education better, just move forward better in life. So if that's the case, let's give everyone a feeling of self-esteem. And that way they'll all be better and, ready to attack the world and do good things. It didn't work. I think that's what all my rambling is saying, is that the study discovered it didn't work. We have even seen that it didn't work. And here's what I'm thinking, and we can hash this out for today. The idea of self-esteem given to everyone as a feeling, as opposed to the product of the work and effort you put in whatever task you've undertaken, is what caused the problem. In other words, you're special. You just get to be self-esteem. You get to have self-esteem, as opposed to saying, dude, you worked hard, you struggled, you may have fallen and goofed a little, but you kept after it and you did your business, and now you've produced something. Let's give you the trophy, the reward, i.e. Hoosiers, right? That's why we started with it. They struggled through all the hardship. They weren't told they were special. They just went out and did the business. They won the championship and they got the trophy. That, I think, is the flaw of the self-esteem movement, was that they just gave it freely. And now look.
Yeah. I think everyone does deserve self-esteem.
You think they deserve it?
I think they deserve it. But let me unpack what I mean. It's called self-esteem. What the self-esteem movement did and where its failure is, and you hit on this, it was given externally. It was not earned internally. And if something is only purely done and given to you externally, then you think you deserve it without doing any of the requisite work that goes with earning it, rather than if you actually work hard and earn that self-esteem, then it's actual self-esteem. It's not the esteem of others. So we're looking for the praise, and we're only looking for praise because that's what we've decided self-esteem actually looks like, is this external praising without doing the actual hard work, right? So James Harrison caught a lot of crap a bunch of years ago. I think it was like 2015 or so.
About the trophies with his kids?
Trophies with his kids, because he decided that he was going to get rid of all of the trophies that his kids had been given. He wanted them to earn it. I'm putting up 2 quotes on the screen. Harrison is taking away his kids' participation trophies because he wants them to earn a real trophy. That's from ESPN.com. And USA Today, talking about the same thing, says participation trophies were not thought up by kids. They probably mean more to the self-esteem of parents and grandparents than their progeny in pint-sized cleats. Right. Those are both James Harrison quotes. So it's about making the parents feel good. Look at my kids. Look at what they're able to do. Yeah. And we don't actually teach the kids how to get to the place where they are able to earn that.
Right.
And we do it because it's easier. It's easier for us to tell them you're special and doing a great thing than to get them to the top of that Maslow pyramid, which is self-actualization, where they actually are able to unlock their full potential through hard work, through struggle, through actually doing what they need to do to get to a place where they're able to see it and earn the trophy in Hoosiers.
It's funny that you brought that up. I mean, as soon as you said James Harrison, I thought you were going one of 2 ways, one of which dealt with a certain Super Bowl and the other which dealt with the trophies. Like, imagine if you, I mean, I'm not taking licks, but I'm just exploring the idea. If everyone gets a participation trophy, the trophy is a reward for doing something, winning something, being the best, or at least, 1, 2, 3 of something. If a kid goes into a league and everyone gets a trophy, they paid for the trophy. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, your parents paid the fee for you to be in the league, and therefore you get a trophy. That's devastating. And that's not even a value judgment that I'm making. The science now and all of the even that initial study refutes that whole idea that it's not a value for them in giving them self-esteem. Giving any person self-esteem. But think about how, I don't know, that idea just floors me. And I think James Harrison is right. I mean, like, in other words, if you didn't do anything, if you just showed up, paid a fee and showed up and wore the right uniform, you get a trophy. It does a whole lot of things. It devalues the idea of trophy, number one. But number two, what does it do to the kid?
Yeah. What does it do to the mental state?
Yeah.
So we were in the pool with my kids the other day, and my son wants to play on the stairs. And he wants to play on the pool stairs. And it hit me, if we right now, as he's learning to swim, allow him to play on the pool stairs, that is going to be something that he associates always with something that he is allowed to do. He is always going to think that the pool stairs are a place to play, but they're not. It's not safe to play on the pool stairs. It's not a good idea to play on the pool stairs, and people are coming in and out. The pool stairs need to not be the playground in the pool. There's the whole rest of the pool.
Right.
He just can't access the rest of the pool yet because his parents haven't given him swim lessons yet. Bad parents. But the same thing applies with those participation trophies. If you only get a participation trophy and never work hard to actually be good and do what you need to do to overcome and to triumph, then you're never going to have Kobe Bryant, who's constantly trying and working to get better for the next season, because it was never instilled in them, because all it was you showed up, as you said, here's your trophy.
Yeah. I mean,
it's passive learning.
Yeah. Yeah. And God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant. I mean, he's a great example. I mean, he grinded. He worked his tail off, We talked about that before. Remember the the story. There's a legend that on the draft night when he was drafted and all the other guys that got drafted went out for a famous steak dinner. You know, they do it every year to celebrate their future. And Kobe went straight to the gym to start shooting free throws. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if that's true. I bet it is, you know, and that just tells you about that mentality. It's like, I got to go out there and get it. And you know, people don't like this. They don't like this kind of conversation, especially people born out of that movement where no, everyone is special. And ultimately, to me, that's one of the biggest flaws because that's a load of horse. You know what? I mean, not everybody is special. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I mean, think about now I totally derailed us, but I mean, think about the idea of special. Special means not like everything else, not like everyone else, right? So if everyone's special, no one's special. I mean, that's just logic, right? It's just based on the definition of the term and the way we use it. Not everybody, and reality, here's the second part. Let's just be honest. If anybody can be honest with the world, it's our duty to do that. To be honest, whether someone likes to hear it or not every person is special, right? I mean, and that may very well include you and I. I know it does me. I'm not special. I recognize that. But as soon as we get that false narrative out of our minds, we have an opportunity to actually get out there and do some work and study and thought and reflection and you know, live a life that indeed may make us special at one point, so we can earn that reward of the trophy or whatever it is you're pursuing.
Yeah.
Train off the track. Sorry.
No, it's not a train off the track. So I actually found an article. I don't know if it's the one that you were talking about earlier, but it says it's written by someone who wrote about the self-esteem movement and Project Self-Esteem at the time, and then more recently wrote again after the death of one of the guys who was really pushing it. And this Vasconcelos, who was a Democratic lawmaker in California. And in his obituary, it says that he was a titan of the human potential movement. And he was actually the one who in 86 pushed Governor Deukmejian to really throw out this stuff. And it says in 1990, the task force final report said that the near magical powers to the self-esteem, characterizing it as something that empowers us to live responsibly. So it described the self-esteem movement as having near magical powers. But then all the things that it talks about, it didn't actually do. It says that it inoculates us against the lures of crime, violence, substance abuse, teen pregnancy, child abuse, chronic welfare dependency, and educational failure. Now, human beings are broken. We live in a broken world. The result of that broken world is that list. Having some government agency that is suddenly going to give you this near magical thing that they think is going to suddenly wave a magic wand and cure all of that is not accurate. Otherwise, that same magic pill that's going to make you lose weight overnight while you're sleeping without giving you any of the actual things that you need to do to lose weight is going to work. Or any other magic that exists that we talk about. The reality is, time and time again, we see that there's no quick fix. And as we keep looking for the quick fix, then we keep getting lost, searching and running around and chasing after this spectacular stuff rather than actually allowing ourselves to be spectacular so that rather than someone else telling me I'm special, I'm going to prove to you that I'm special, that I'm one of a kind. I had someone once tell me that they heard I was lazy. And my response to them was, I challenge anyone who tells you that I'm lazy to follow me for a day. And if at the end of the day they still think I'm lazy, great.
Yeah.
Then we can have a real conversation about where I need to improve. But don't just make stuff up because you think all of a sudden that's gonna change and somehow you think that's gonna inspire me to do more.
Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe I derailed us even farther.
No. There was a lot that was going on there, but one of the things you said earlier is, and I know our audience knows this, and I don't say this in any way to be, mushy, but you are clearly the least lazy person I've ever met. So, I mean, the fact
Hopefully.
that people that would say that it is what it is. That's a great conversation one day too. Like, how do you not care about that kind of stupid stuff? But that's another combo. When you started in that last little segment was that you led me to the thought of work ethic.
Yeah.
And that you got to put in the work. Maybe we can get there at the end. Well, I mean, I don't know. We were rambling. I mean, I think clearly, and the data shows it, and not just our opinion, but actual scientific data. The main study from Deukmejian and that guy's name. Sorry, I'm rambling. the gentleman with the last name V who just died was the California lawmaker. When I was reading it, he was the one. So I couldn't remember his name. He was the one who instigated it. And when you read that obit, I was like, yeah, that's the name. Anyways, that guy, even that report refutes the idea of the data they came up with, and that whole shtick I was given about getting on Oprah, because I took that one quote out of context.
Yeah.
All of that to say, all right, let's just establish, at least for the sake of this conversation, that giving self-esteem rather than as a feeling, as opposed to earning the self-esteem for doing the hard work that goes with it, is probably not a good thing. So let's just, keep going from that perspective and see, does God himself have anything to say about this? I mean, does he weigh in? Obviously, I would say, of course, he weighs in.
Yeah.
God's holy word is not a topical resource guide, that you can go through and look up topics, although it does speak to certain topics, and I think the idea of the crucifixional life, which is by definition a grind, right? Sacrifice is what it means. That's what we keep pushing. I mean, when we talk about being crucifixional, it's the sacrifice of my ego and my will, myself, for the sake of God's will. So it necessarily it necessarily includes that hard work. Anyways, where do you want to start?
It necessitates the hard work.
Yeah.
I'd say it starts in Matthew.
All right.
Matthew chapter 7, at the very end of the Sermon on the Mount, he starts to talk about all of this stuff. And he's talking about all of these words, all of these words, all of these things that you need to do. And he gives the new law, and he says the following. Go for it.
Oh, all right. I enter by the narrow gate. This is Matthew 7:13 and following, 13 and 14. For the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction. Right? Wow. And those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. Right? I mean, he's made distinction right there, the Lord. Was that what you put up there? Oh,
yeah.
You had that look on your face like I read the wrong verse. But
No,
that right there tells you that clearly the Lord is saying that doing the mundane and living a normal life, according to the statutes of the world, you are not special. Right.
Yeah.
And those are many, many people. The masses do that kind of stuff. And Christ is calling us. He's calling us to something much higher. Right. The Lord does not want us just to live a good life. He wants us to be exceptional human beings. And, he's calling us to more. It's to use the video game parlance, we're leveling up, or he's calling us to level up. In other words, don't be like everybody else. Don't be normal.
Yeah.
Everybody else is normal. Be beyond normal.
And go along that video game thing. How do you level up?
You beat the bad guy.
Experience points.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's experience points, it's experience, it's work, it's doing the business that allows you to level up. It's getting out there. Everyone, anyone, and all over the place, they're able to enter by the not narrow gate. It's easy.
Yeah.
But the way of life is narrow. It's hard. It's hard work to give up your own will. We talked about it all week last week about how hard it is to sacrifice. When we talked about it through the lens of commitment, but it's through every lens. It's hard work, and it's going to continue to be hard work. That's why Proverbs talks so much about hard work. We hear in chapter 6, verses 6 through 8, go to the ant, O sluggard. I love that word, sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise without having any chief, officer, or ruler. She prepares her food in summer, gathers her sustenance in harvest. So the ant is constantly working. The ant is constantly preparing. We ourselves have to constantly be preparing. We have to constantly be working. We have to constantly be doing the things that we need to do to handle our business, to handle what we need to handle so that we are really able to get out there and put it into practice, right? It's nice to have the Beatitudes. Use them as low-hanging fruit because we talked about the Sermon on the Mount. So the Sermon on the Mount starts with the Beatitudes. Mm-hmm. It's nice to hear those things and everything that comes after it. But then when we get to the end, you've got to enter by the narrow gate. You've got to do the work, to put them into action. Otherwise, none of that stuff is going to happen. None of that stuff's going to work unless you do it. Yeah. It's not going to, no one's going to do it for you. And that's going back to earlier, where that inherent fallacy of we're going to give you self-esteem, in my opinion, comes from. Because nobody can give you what you learn by hard work. I think about my kids at the park climbing on one of those little fake rock walls. The look of joy on their face when they get to the top of those things after they struggled and they fell and they had a hard time with it. I mean, it's priceless because they know that they did a good job. Not because their dad said you did a good job, but I reinforce it when it's won through hard work. And that's how you actually get it to a place where they're able to pull it off, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right, man. I mean, with the hard work line, I mean, it's, you know, I don't know. It's easy for you and I to talk about it because we work so hard, but to share it with the world, I think our duty out there, like, look, there are, maybe many ways, but let's just say there are two ways to live our lives. One of them is the way of the world and what the mundane and normal is put out there. The other we offer, we're trying hard is to teach the way of the warrior saint, which is the way of the cross. It is the way of Christ. It's a crucifixional life. And that necessitates, doing things, working hard, going above and beyond, doing more than you are asked to do. Like Kobe going to shoot free throws on draft night instead of the steak dinner. And, but that's the kind of stuff that leads to an exceptional life. That's the kind of stuff that makes it different. I mean, some people have just decided, and this is absolutely okay. They have decided, I just want to live a slow, comfortable, normal life. And you know what? God bless them. They're probably happy people, maybe. I mean, I hope that they are. But there are some who long for more. And I think there's many of us that do, that long for something greater, deeper, heavier, looking to receive the self-esteem, not just to be given it, to earn. Sorry, you used the word earn, to earn that self-esteem as opposed to just to be given it. And for those who really want more, it does not come through a gift. Here's a funny thing too. Why would you even want a gift? Like, go out and get it. I'm totally off track, but look, I'm going to throw this kid under the bus. I don't know the kid. I don't care about the kid. But my daughter just graduated high school, as you know, and I was driving to the graduation ceremony, and there was a kid in the car in front of us. And, they write on the windows, like, I'm going to school X, or I graduated, class of 2025. So his said, I'm a graduate. And then underneath it said, I need money. Please Venmo me at, and then it was the @ symbol with his name. I'll save his name. I don't even know who he is. It doesn't matter. But I was like, well, that's obnoxious. Like, you're going to just drive around and hope that people just send you money. But I got deeper into it. I'm like, and why would he want that? I mean, maybe he needs money to go to college. I don't know. And yes, it would be great for that kid and all kids to get out of college with no debt. I understand that. Believe me, I got two. I get it. But why would he want it? Why would he want someone else to do his work, to do his heavy lifting? Do you know what I'm saying? It struck me in that moment. I was like, that one bummed me out for that kid's sake, because I was like, I don't know, go get some. And I'm not opposed to gifts. I've been very blessed in my life, but I've worked my ass off, you know what I mean, to go and get everything that I can provide for my family and to produce it, Anyways, all of that to say, I totally derailed us there. Anyways, but it's whatever we were talking about popped into my head. If you want it, baby, you got to go get it. Do that hard work so that you can be rewarded with that self-esteem, because you did the business.
Even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. We quoted it last week. Like, the goal, if we're doing it and living this life, is to serve, not just wait for those handouts, not just wait to be served, not just wait for someone to give us something. Like, I used to joke all the time, that I really wanted someone to just give me a wife. And people would be like, hey, we're going to the Middle East. Can we bring you anything back? I was like, yes, bring me a wife. Like, just give me a wife. I want to find a wife. And I found a wife. And boy, did she make me work for it. Right? And thank God that she did. Because, like, why would you just want that handed to you? And that's why I used to joke about it. But, like, you want to have to work for it. Yeah. It builds a stronger relationship when you're struggling for a goal. And she would say, I'm a prize. You got to earn it. Yeah. And she made me earn it.
Yeah, good.
And I did.
You did. And she's lovely. And yeah, thank God. And you're happy. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to say that matches made can't be happy too, but I absolutely know what you're saying. I mean, it's like, even in that situation, they still have to work to make the marriage work and last. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. This is it's an important thing because I think, lots of things have become so much easier for us, which is great in very many respects. Um, the ease with which we can communicate, the cell phone and, texting, phone calls, emails, all that stuff it's technologically it's great. I just heard too a little while ago that I don't know if it's true, but theoretically you'll get the point that that Elon Musk is working on robots, and that in 10 years time, everyone will have a master of the house who is a robot that just basically does everything around the house for us. And look, if that happens and I can afford it, hell yeah, I want one. Like, I don't want to do laundry. I don't want to mow the lawn. Like, why not? But with that ease, it has become also the expectation that we, don't put in that requisite effort. That's why my mind's racing, man, but I'm sorry. But that's why I think exercise is so important, because it's a fight for mastery over the body, but more importantly, over the mind, right? When I'm running, slowly as it is, I am still, the body screaming, the feet and the legs like, but more than that, the mind is saying to me, quit, 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 right? That's my real fight. And sometimes I give in and slow down to a walk for a little stretch, but sometimes I'm like, no, screw you. And I keep going. I just fight through it. That we can't lose that. I don't think that's what separates men from boys and women from girls. I mean, that's what makes us, mature in Christ, and particularly, in the service of God's will. That's what makes us, men and women of God. Anyways,
Yeah.
rambling. Sorry.
No, I mean, but it's accurate. The fight is where victory is won, and the fight with self, right? And you don't have the fight of self if it's given to you, if it's handed to you, because it's just there. It's easy, and it's like that experiment they did with rats on dopamine, about dopamine. And they would click a button and they would get some sort of dopamine hit somehow. And I'm totally paraphrasing and butchering what the study did. But the rats would then look for that and not for the one that had food. And then they just all died because no one just ate, because they just wanted that quick, easy hit. And they didn't actually do what they needed to do to live.
To live, yeah.
Right? It's a crass analogy. But at some point, I mean, we call it the rat race. When everything is just given to us, we become no better than that. And we just look for those easy outs, and we just keep looking for that easy way to do things rather than getting out there and earning it. And can be very detrimental. St. Basil the Great talks about it, I think, On the Human Condition, when he is talking about our creation in the image and likeness of God. And he says that by our first, we have the first, the image, and it is by our free choice that we build the second, the likeness. It's through our will. It's through our free choice. It's through our deciding that we are going to follow God's commandments, which include getting out there and doing the business and entering by that narrow gate, that we are able to build ourselves up to actually be who God has created us to be, which are not people that are supposed to run around and be like Adam, but people that are supposed to run around and be like Christ.
Yeah. I don't know. It's funny too, when rubber hits the road, we talk about all these things. I was just thinking, when, business matters to people. I mean, money matters, right? Because like they can say what they want to say, but when it comes to like, people are often idealistic, and then when you start messing with their finances, then all of a sudden it's like it becomes real. And that happened even to me once here in the office. I mean, the money that we use at the church is not mine. I mean, it belongs to the church, and I have to be responsible with it, and not be flippant. And that includes hires, right? Like, remember when you came here, however, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, almost, it was to replace someone, nice person, but had no work ethic, which was part of the issue. I mean, just would, spend a lot of time on socials and just, it just doesn't work. And the point I'm making in that is that, we don't, if we're honest, we don't like in our own lives or in the collaboration with other people of having that, gimme, gimme, gimme I deserve, entitled attitude, it doesn't work. It's not real, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't work in life. It's just not real. And I'm fed up with it. I try hard not to. I mean, I have had great expectations for our team here. Like we got to grind, baby, and do our work. Anyways,
Mm-hmm. It's legit.
another
You could say it's too legit.
yeah, just don't quit. Here's the key, or here's another key in a different direction. One of the things that we do need to be cautious about is that when we get into that, pursuit of, as St. Basil was saying, to do the work to build the likeness, to do your work, the Hoosiers that we started with this whole thing and that work ethic and grinding. When we get into that, we don't want to get boastful, like, ooh, look at me, I'm better than the other guy. It's simply a duty you have, right? Like we grabbed a couple of ideas here. St. Paul gives us the thought too, like you can see it's very easy to say, well, since I've overcome and didn't involve myself in this self-esteem movement, I'm therefore better, and look at me. But St. Paul tells us, for by grace given to me, I bid everyone among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but that he might think with sober judgment, each according to the measure of faith which God has assigned him. And then he goes on further to say, each of us have been given different parts and functions in the body. And I think what he's saying there is like, look, God gave you stuff. Do your business. Do your part. Do what you're supposed to do. Do it well. Go get some. Don't brag about it because I'm a head and you're a foot, or I'm an eye and you're a finger, or whatever. Just, you're a part of the body. Do your business, whatever it is. But do it, and do it hard. Do it well. So that you're not boasting in yourself, but that you boast in the Lord. Paul says further in 2 Corinthians, I know we have that one in there too, the end of chapter 10, let him who boasts boast of the Lord, for it is not the man who commends himself that is accepted, but the man whom the Lord commends. And again, I took that verse a little bit out of the context of chapter 10 in 2 Corinthians, but it still makes that point, right? Like you and I and all people are given certain things by God, certain gifts, certain skills, talents, and it is our duty to use them, not to brag about why mine's better than yours or why I'm better than you. You may be, you may not. Let Christ, who is the judge, decide that. But you do the work that you have been assigned, right? If I set you to task X or Y or Z, go get some, baby.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like none of this stuff is new, right?
No.
You read from Romans chapter 12, verse 3. Verse 2 says, do not be conformed by the world, but renew yourself.
Renew your mind.
Through the transformation of your mind. Yeah. Like be transformed through the renewal of your mind. And the point is so that you might prove what is God's will, so that you're out there doing the business. You're able to do what God is actually telling you to do. And this idea of conformity, where everyone is telling you, you do you, you're special, you have great self-esteem, is leading us down this path where then we want to boast about what we're doing, but not actually do the business. Then when we start doing the business, we think we have to boast about doing the business, but that's where the hammer comes down. Do not boast about what you're doing, right? Righteousness, as we know from the Old Testament, is something that is declared. You do not declare yourself righteous. God declares you righteous. You don't get to say, I'm doing it.
Right. That's a great point too. Actually, that you bring it up, exploded in my brain. I mean, in the Christian life, it is not ever for us to declare ourselves anything. Right. Maybe sinners, we can declare that because if you're me, you know very clearly. But and you even think about being saved. I know that's one of the things that many Christians think about: salvation, going to heaven, and all that kind of stuff. That's not something, in spite of some traditions read it as though it's already guaranteed. That's not what Scripture says. It's something that you must do the work and do the business to abide by God's commandments. And when he comes again to judge, he will decide, right? Like, so in other words, that declaration of salvation, or that, awarding of the heavenly trophy, is something that someone else can give, but you have to do your business as a Christian man or woman in this life so that when he looks at you, he says, well done, good and faithful servant, right?
Exactly. And it goes to what you were talking about. We've hit on all of these topics. I'm just going to hit it.
Yeah.
Matthew 25. We read those three parables that are included in 25 separately, but if you read them as a progression, it's preparation, of the talents that God has given you so that you can do the business that God has laid out about what is going to be the litmus test by which you will be judged,
i.e., serving others. Yeah.
i.e., serving others.
Mhm.
And he says very clearly at the end of that parable of the Last Judgment that we are going to be judged on these things. That doesn't mean that anything's guaranteed. He's going to separate sheep from the goats.
Right.
And he's going to send the goats who declare themselves the greatest of all time to be sent away and thrown into the fire where there is weeping,
Wailing, gnashing of teeth.
gnashing of
Yeah.
teeth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's to your point is what we were just talking about. I mean, like it is something that is declared, thrown upon you, not by you. You don't get to commend yourself. The Lord commends you, which we read in 2 Corinthians 10 there. Yeah. I mean, anyways, I think it's just, I don't know.
And we're never going to know when it comes. We
No.
never know when that judgment's going to happen. So that's why we always have to be preparing ourselves. That's where that parable of the bridegroom comes in. We are the wise and foolish servants. We always have to be wise and foolish servants.
The maidens.
The
yeah.
maidens.
Yeah. The 10 with the
10 with
yeah.
the oil and the lamps and all of the things. We have to be preparing ourselves constantly because we don't know the hour that it's going to happen.
Watch, baby, I come like
A thief in the night. And we have to be preparing ourselves with the talents that God has given us, not burying them, hiding them. So that means that we have to figure out what are those talents? What are those things that I can actually pull off? What are those things that I can do? What are those things that are unique to me? You might call it a unique ability. What are the things that I am able to uniquely do?
Mhm.
Rather than someone tell me I'm special, I need to figure out what are the things that make me special, that make me unique, that I then can cultivate and work towards and build up. St. Maximus the Confessor says, to the inherent goodness of the image is added the likeness acquired by the practice of virtue and the exercise of will. We have to actually put it into practice.
Mhm.
We have to actually exercise that we are giving up our own will so that we can do God's will, that we are actually willing to live that crucifixional life so that we can get out there and make it happen, Cap'n.
That's great. Great stuff. I think the idea, I don't know, we beat it a little bit dead, but it was, I hope everybody has self-esteem. I hope they feel good about the stuff that they've done, but that it's as a reward and not freely given.
Yeah.
Let God freely give it at the end once you've done the business. That's all.
But the self-esteem comes from doing the business.
Agreed.
Because we know when we're doing the business, we know that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And that's where that esteem comes from.
Yeah.
From within, from that knowing that we're actually doing what God has commanded us to do. Now, how we help others achieve that is a whole nother conversation that we could have a different day.
Mhm.
But it does not come from just simply saying, hey, good job.
Yeah.
Great work.
Yeah.
Go about your business.
All right. Great stuff.
Great.
Loved it. We'll be back Sunday. Orthros, liturgy, 9 and 10. We'll be back next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but something fun as always. Love you. Share us, like us, all that good stuff. Check out our stuff at warriorsaints.org. We've got a lot of great updates coming too. It's fun. We're at a pivotal moment. So make sure you check out our website, warriorsaints.org.
I should put that up there.
Oh, thanks.
It's up there now.
There it is. Love y'all. Have a great weekend. Be safe. We'll see you Sunday and again on Monday. And as always, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.